Yo, what's going on YouTube? My name is Louiee and welcome back to the channel. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee dropped this past weekend, but that didn't stop the trading card game from hosting and having tournaments, because this past weekend, one of the biggest tournaments of the season so far happened. So, guys, it's our job to kind of put down the switch, stop playing Pokemon Let's Go, and get some of the outstanding decks from the tournament and cover them for you guys. So, Daniel Altavella, of course, I always mispronounce his name, and I've covered him on the channel before, if I'm not mistaken. He's already captured a championship this season at the Memphis Regionals. He plays first place at Memphis Regionals in the standard format, and he returns to the international tournament in Sao Paulo, Brazil, to get another first place finish to add to his resume, which is crazy. So Daniel brought control to the tournament as he piloted Zoroark Control to take the win. Unfortunately, his opponent was kind of DQ'd before the final match, so yeah, so there's no actual final game there. Very, very unfortunate that no actual game occurred. However, I believe that person kind of cheated earlier on in the tournament and was caught, so therefore he got DQ'd. So all right was done, but Daniel kind of dominated and showcased how great and controlling the deck is throughout the tournament, so you really can't take anything away from him. He performed really, really well, and he played really, really well. This guy's unstoppable, especially those guys on Dead Draw Gaming. Most of those guys, if not all those guys, are really, really great players, and just have dominated the season so far, which is crazy. But let's get straight into the deck. So Zoroark-GX, that's the main thing. This Zoroark Control 4/4 line, Zoroark-GX 210 HP. Trade is the ability once during your turn before you attack, you may discard a card from your hand. If you do, draw 2 cards. Righteous Beating. For 2 colorless, this attack does 20 damage times the amount of Pokemon you have in play. Then we're going to take a look at Trickster-GX. The only reason we're going to cover it is because you can kind of pull it off in this deck, but to be honest, I don't see it being used too often. Or at all, but you can actually use it in this deck, in this version, so I'm just going to mention it. So Trickster-GX, choose one of your opponent's Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack. You can only use one GX, and it requires 2 darks. We're not playing dark in this deck, we're playing rainbow, but and that's the only reason why you can actually use this if you really wanted to. I don't think you're going to, though. It's not something you would want to do. Weakness to Fighting type, and a resistance to Psychic, and a 2 retreat cost. Now, this is the Zoroark part of the deck list. Now we're going to talk about the control. So we're going to start off with the standard stuff. We're going to talk about 1 Slugma and 1 Macargo for Smooth Over. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may search your deck for a card, shuffle your deck, then put that card on top of your deck. So it's basically controlling your next draw or your next trade, making sure you get cards that you potentially want and get them to your hand as quick as possible. Sableye, 60 HP, here for the first attack. Limitation for 1 dark energy. Your opponent can't play any supporter cards from their hand during their next turn. So if your opponent kind of has like key winnings on, they have to Guzma something particularly up to knock out, strong Pokemon, things like that, Sableye can just shut that down to the point where your opponent can't Guzma anything up. Again, your opponent can't play Elm, your opponent can't Cynthia, Tate and Liza, the list goes on. As long as limitation was used, your opponent can't use any supporters, which is really, really crazy. We're only playing 1 copy of that there. Then we're playing Ditto Prism Star. This is kind of good for pretty much any stage 1 in this deck. For the Almighty Evolution, once during your turn before you attack, you may put any stage 1 from your hand onto this Pokemon to evolve it. You can't use this ability during your first turn or the turn that this Pokemon was put into play. Cool, understandable. You can go into Zoroark, you can go into Cargo, or you can go into Alolan Muck. 120 HP, here for the ability Power of Alchemy. Each basic Pokemon in play in each player's hands and each player's discard pile have no abilities. We're talking Orangurus. What else? There's so much in the format that we can mention, and it's in here to stop it. It's in here to stop it. Just depending on what exactly your opponent's playing. Maybe if they're playing something like Buzzwole and they need Diancie Prism Star, it'll shut that down as well. So different things out there in the format to stop things or slow things down without the use of using other cards like, I guess, Weakness Policy, things of that nature. So yeah, we got that going on for us. And then we have 1 copy of Articuno GX, 170 HP, Legendary Ascent. When you play this card from your hand onto your bench, You may switch it with your active if you do move any number of water energy from any other Pokemon to this Pokemon. So that second part of that ability kind of doesn't matter. The first part, though, is it's kind of going to be a rush-in. If you have something stuck in the active that you don't want in the active, Articuno can just go in there. And then we're going to talk about Cold Crush GX. Discard all energy from both active Pokemon. If your opponent has no way of getting anything back, because we do, it kind of might hinder your opponent. And considering this deck is very, very control and disruption oriented, it's here to just make sure your opponent has no energy for them to do anything else. But then you're wondering, how do we get energy back? Well, we have Oranguru Resource Management. However, we're not just playing one copy, we're playing two. Put 3 cards from your discard pile onto the bottom of your deck in any order. And what's great about this card is, well, we're playing 2. We're not playing 1 anymore. People used to only just play 1 and heavy counts of like resource, rescue, stretch, and stuff like that. But we can go through our deck, use all these cards, use up all our resources, and then with resource management, just put it all back into the deck. Obviously to the bottom of the deck, but we put it all the way back into the deck. Also a good way to make sure that we do not deck out either, because with Zoroark and you're constantly trading, you kind of get low on cards in the deck and stuff like that. And then to round out the Pokemon in this list, we're playing 2 copies of Tapu Lele for Wonder Tag. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto the bench, search your deck for a supporter, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. However, you can energy each drive if you'd like. This attack does 20 damage times the amount of energy attached to both active Pokemon, and you can actually Tapu Cure in this deck. So Tapu Cure GX is heal all damage from 2 of your bench Pokemon. Maybe your opponent has just been annoying with like Tapu Koko Spread, Shrine of Punishment, just things getting damaged here and there, but not knocked out. Tapu Cure can, help that cause out quite a bit. But that's rounding out our Pokemon lineup there. Let's go into our supporter lineup. So, very standard. Cynthia, shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 6 cards. Then we're going Professor Elm's Lecture. Search your deck for up to 3 Pokemon with 60 HP. Reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Then this is where the interesting stuff kind of, happens. Very much in the past, Acerola has been played in higher counts. We're only playing 1 count, though, in this deck. Put one of your Pokemon that has any damage counters on it and all the cards attached to it into your hand. And then 1 count of Guzma, where, of course, we've played multiple in the past. Switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. If you do, switch your active with one of your bench. Of course, there's ways to get our supporters back into the deck. Resource Management, Oranguru is one of them, and then Palpad is another. So, kind of the reason why, we do that. Then we're playing 1 copy of Gladion. Look at your face card. Prize cards, put one of them into your hand. Then shuffle Gladion into your remaining prize cards. Then put them face down. If you didn't play this Gladion from your hand, it does nothing. So, pretty cool. Pretty cool there. Very interesting card. It's not something you see every day, but still does the job. Maybe there might be something in your prize cards that is very, very crucial to locking down the board with what you got going on. And that's your way of getting it. So that's why we play Gladion there. 2 copies of Plumeria. Discard 2 cards from your hand if you do discard energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon. We talked about this earlier. This deck is very control / disruption oriented. This is another part of the disruption part, making sure that your opponent has no energy available for them to really do anything, to be honest. And then the last part of the disruption part that we're talking about, your opponent reveals their hand. We discard 2 energy cards attached, or 2 energy cards from their hand with Team Skull Grunt. And we're playing 2 copies of Team Skull. So this is going to be really good if your opponent kind of, breaks and they kind of stocked up in a lot of cards in the hand. An easy Team Skull Grunt is going to make sure that you get something. You hit some DCEs, some Rainbow energies, some Unit energies, Basic energies. Every deck runs energy, so it's going to hit something. And it's a great disruption card, especially if your opponent's kind of like setting up for the next turn. Getting rid of those energies might just hinder their next turn, so you can obviously control the deck, or control the game a little bit more. Going into items, very standard. We're playing 4 copies of Ultra Ball, discard 2 cards. Search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then we're playing 4 copies of Timer Ball, which is interesting. Usually Zoroark decks kind of opted to play Great Ball. However, this deck is playing Timer Ball. Flip 2 coins for each head. Search your deck for an evolution. Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. I guess playing more counts of it kind of, evens things out there. Then we're playing, let's talk about Disruption. 4 copies of Crushing Hammer. Flip a coin. If heads, discard an energy off of one of your opponent's Pokemon. And then 2 copies of Enhanced Hammer. Discard a special energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon. So, Disruption all over the place. And then we're playing Counter Catcher. You can play this card only if you have more prize cards, basically meaning if you're losing the game, switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. So you want to probably just like put your opponent's like heaviest retreater to the active spot, just so you can just start setting up or anything like that. It's to pretty much help you out. Or you can also, if you're losing the game and you don't have access to Guzma, you can bring something up so you can knock out very easily with Zoroark, or just continue doing what you're doing. Then we're playing for 1-ofs, 1 copy of Max Potion. Heal all damage from one of your Pokemon. If you do, discard all energy attached to that Pokemon. 1 copy of Pal Patch. Shuffle 2 supporters from your discard pile into your deck. 1 copy of Rescue Stretcher. Put a Pokemon from your discard pile into your deck, or into your hand, or shuffle 3 Pokemon from your discard pile into the deck. Then we're playing 1 copy of Switch. Switch your active Pokemon with one of your benched, which is really, really good there. 2 copies of Lysander Labs. Pokemon tool cards in play, both yours and your opponents, have no effect. So that's our items there. For energy, we're playing 3 copies of Double Colorless. Provides 2 color energy. And then 2 copies of Rainbow Energy. So that's kind of fuels the fire for like Tapu Cure, Trickster GX, Resource Management, and stuff like that. But it looks like that's going to be all the time that we have for today. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're looking to check out deck lists from other participants at the event, make sure to head over to LimitlessTCG.com to get those. Mentioned it earlier in this video about Pokemon Let's Go, and you guys may have already seen it on this channel, but I'm streaming the game over on Twitch as often as possible. So if you'd like to go check it out, link of that, along with all my other social media accounts, will be in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!